interesting edition of the program, Issues of the Moment on Television, Nigerian. Of course, on this program, we bring you issues that are happening on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, specifically on the 3rd of May, the family of Audu Oyedi, of course, received the news of the passage of their matriarch, their mother. And on the 8th day of the prayer, there was a statement released for guests who came around to commemorate and commiserate with the family by Prince Yahaya Audu, the Group President and CEO of Zayo Group of Companies, on behalf of the family. Well, on the program today, the issues that were raised in his message is what is going to form the basis of our discussion on the program, Issues of the Moment. My name is Nten Ekban, and it's my pleasure to welcome Prince Yahaya Audu, Group President and CEO, Zayo Group of Companies. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's good
nice to have me here.
Absolutely. First of all, my condolences on the demise of your mother.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, while people came to commiserate with you, a lot of issues were raised, and we would like to talk about those issues. But first of all, the demise of your mother. How did you receive that news? How did it come to the family?
Well, like you know, in all issues of demise, it's very painful to lose a mother, a loved one, and particularly a mother you are very close to. She's one of my most confident, and as you could see, I'm not really still myself. But as a leader, you have to pretend everything is okay, because you don't want to have the followers fall by the wayside.
Okay, so what are those qualities you miss most, and the lessons you learned from her lifetime that have made you who you are today?
My mother, as probably you'll find from people, is a God-fearing person. She's brought all of us up to be upright, to be righteous, to be religious, and to ensure that we follow the teachings of the Quran. And as a mother also, throughout her years, she has ensured that all of us follow the path of the teaching of the parents.
Now, in your statement, as I was reading, I got to a place where you were thanking the federal government and the Inspector General of Police, for supporting you, especially when you were attacked. Well, how does that make you feel about the security of the country?
Yes. Why I made particular reference to that? In the past, we have seen ministers who were being murdered, and nothing was done about it. We have seen people who are being kidnapped. I'm sure you are still aware, and it's still fresh in the mind of people, the Chibok issues, when nothing was done about it until the present administration. And when I had my issues, I was opportune to meet His Excellency, the President of the Governor of Kogi State, and from there the police took over the matter. And in fact, without their intervention, I would not even been able to go to attend my mother's burial. And for that, I use this medium to thank them a great deal. And I hope they are still working on the matter, and I'm sure they are going to actually fish out the perpetrators.
Okay, yeah. Compare that to what is happening right now in the country. What message does this send to the ordinary Nigerian out there, and of course the international community, vis-a-vis the security of life and property in the country?
Well, one of the thin cardinal pillar of the issues of Nigeria is politics. When Mr. President took office, 2015, one of his promises was that he was going to bring Boko Haram to their knees. What the previous administration could not do for 16 years, he was able to do in 6 months. And of course, being in government for 16 years, they are not going to sit there, fold their arms, and expect them to clap for him, dub their cap for him, that he's done a good job. But if you look at the topography of Nigeria, until recently, I've never seen a Fulani man even seeing gun, let alone carrying AK-47. So how does that play in your mind?
So do you see a political undertone to these
challenges? Absolutely. Because we had issues, we had the 8 years of Obasanjo. We never had any ex-president coming that he should not go for a second tenure. We had the term of Yaradua before his demise, and so on and so forth. What is so peculiar with this president that all the former generals and ex-presidents are coming out to say you should not contest. It is a civic right. It's a democratic setting. As we will discuss later on, you will find that in any democratic dispensation, it's not 1% of the populace that determines the president or the elector. It's the electorate. If I make references of this to the demise of my mother, now she's dead. She goes back to her creator for the judgment. So election is the judgment day for any politician. So if you are doing well, it's the period to exercise your popularity. If you are doing badly, like the previous administration of Goodluck Jonathan, you'll be voted out. I must commend him for actually handing over peacefully for that. And I hope all that contestants will follow suit. But if you have a situations whereby people are now beginning to tell you what to do and what not to do, when democratically you are eligible to do that, they leave that to the electorate.
Now, their point is, for instance, those who are calling for the president not to seek a second term, they are not saying you do not have the right to seek. You have the right to seek. But people are coming from the premise that maybe your first term hasn't justified you to seek a second term. For instance, people have come up with issues like the National Security Council, made up of a particular sect, alleged in the country. It doesn't cut across federal character principle. There's no respect for that. People have said, okay, because of insecurity in the country, the cardinal objective of the government is the protection of life and property according to the Constitution. So people are coming from this basis to say, because of prevailing circumstances, you shouldn't seek a second term. Don't you think they are right to say that?
Absolutely, it's their right to make observations. But where you have an ex-president coming out that we should not be scared, if I put His Excellency, the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, he said, we should not be scared. We should all go out there to get him out of office. I think that becomes a little bit too personal. But when you talk about also the insecurity, let's take the country as a whole. Where do we have the prevalence of these attacks? Check it. It's a particular area of the country. In the past, Abuja was one of the most porous places where you have these attacks. That has been weeded out. Even the Boko Haram is one or two skirmishes here and there. But of course, like I said, in any political dispensation, people need to create a situations where they make you feel as incapable. I felt, it's a personal opinion, I felt the president has done well on 3 grounds. One, is the first time we are having a president who is saying XYZ has returned funds. It's the first time we're having a president who has said, gone and look into the arms deal and say XYZ money is missing. It's the first time we're having a president who said we are going to disclose to you how your money is going to be used. It's the first time we're having a president who is saying we will not do anything except through the TSA, which is the treasury single account. So when you have situations like that, let's take a step backward. The president started, and within a short time of his time in office, the nature plays its role. He fell ill. He was out of the country for at least minimum 4 to 5 months. Yeah. And then he came back. Look at the time for recovery. Then now he's coming now to build on.
It's not on the ground to say you should give way for someone healthier. After all, outside of the shores of Nigeria, one of the countries he visited, he did mention the fact that he wished he were healthier, or he wished he were president at a much younger age. He would have performed better. Isn't that an indictment upon himself to say, I'm not healthy enough, I'm not very young enough and vibrant to lead a complex society like Nigeria?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question which most people have asked. I've actually dialogued that with most people. But it's a little bit, I feel people are a little bit myopic. A lot of the young people we are talking about today are inexperienced. This guy was one time a governor. He was one time a minister. He was one time a chairman of Petroleum Trust Fund. He was one time also a president. And there's a saying that you can never read in the textbook experience. How many of them out there today have the experiences he has? So if you look at it in a nutshell, we have not really given him room to prove himself. We are seeing, even if you look around you, we are speaking from Abuja, you look at a lot of unfinished projects from the previous administration, which is putting the finishing touches to it. I'm sure that is there for everybody to see. You look at the Abuja, I listened to a radio yesterday, people were saying that the Lokoja road was started by previous administration of PDP. 16 good years they are doing that road. 16 good years. Every time money has been allocated to that road, till date, it's a death trap, not finished. But this is what Mr. President is saying, I'm coming to do. You have seen, for over 40 years, people from the East will bear me witness that the Niger Bridge has been actually allocated with commission. Till date, nothing is started. This president has started that. So you need somebody who is not self-centered. And if you talk of illness, my mother wasn't ill when he was sick, but my mother is now late. How do you know this young man who is coming there is going to be there after the next 1 or 2 years? Death is in the hands of Almighty Allah. Health is in the hands of Almighty Allah. You do not have control of your own health as you sit here today. So the health issue, I think, is not an issue really that people should dwell on. Because through the period he has been ill till now, a lot of young people, 1, 2, 10, 20, 50, have gone. So how now do you use that as a sort of pretense, stepping stone to say it's a reason for him not to contest?
Yeah, because people use that to say because of his prolonged absence and his ailing nature, whatever that definition or whatever that means, people are saying that he hasn't been actually the commander-in-chief. He hasn't had the apparatus of government under his control. That is why we can see, for instance, like we have cited, an Inspector General of Police was given clear-cut instruction, go to Benue, stick around until such a time that the level of security improves, and 24 hours later he moves to another state, and the president comes to that state and says before the press that I had instructed someone to stay here, but the person has left. Until we speak, there was no punitive measure. And that's why some people have alleged that some ministers are incompetent, in quote, and none has been fired, and stuff like that. So people are of the opinion that because of this, challenges that we've mentioned on the part of Mr. President, the apparatus of government are not in his command, as it were.
Well, if I'm to respond to that, let's start from your studio. They say your cameraman is incompetent, you fire him. They say your security man is incompetent, you fire him. They say the cleaner is incompetent, you fire him. What you do as a leader is to look into why people have not been able to carry out their judicious duty. Was the negligence on the part of the person was actually made to do that? If we look at even the IG himself, I did saw on social media where one Dino Malai said we gave him 24 hours to produce those people who have disappeared. And the man was able to produce them less than even 30 hours. I've not seen commendations from people for that. So, if there is issue in the house, as a leader, you call the person to order. And if you are giving very cogent reason, you don't come to the public and say, oh, because I'm told that's why it's this. You do amends. And that's how a good, experienced, elderly leader should lead. You are supposed to be a leader, not to be a tyrant.
You're still watching the program Issues of the Moment, coming to you on television, Nigerian. My guest has been Prince Yahaya Audu, Group President and CEO, Zion Group of Companies. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Prince David Adetunji Adeyeye, known as DAA. I am a lawyer and an energy specialist. I live and work here in FCT, Abuja. I am running for the House of Representatives for Amak Buhari Federal Constituency for the good people of FCT under the platform of Young Progressive Party. I am running because I believe in legislative agenda for community development. I wanted a community that is responsive that is supporting and creating social infrastructure and amenities for our children and young people to be able to compete globally. I am encouraging all that is out there to go there and get a PVC and ensure that you vote. Election does matter, and this election, it's important that we elect people that are good, that are going to represent you. Support me as the House of Representative candidate for Young Progressive Party for Amak Buhari Federal Constituency. Thank you for your support.
Young Progressive Party. Service to the people. Welcome back. It is still Issues of the Moment on television, Nigerian, and I have been speaking with Prince Yahya Oahu, the group president and CEO, Sayo Group of Companies, and of course, a lot of issues have been raised. But I'd like to take you on the issue of your family, where you, in your statement, you expressed a little bit of regret that since the demise of your brother, your uncle, the federal government that you've supported a lot, your family has supported a lot, hasn't, probably done what you had expected as a family that the government will do. Do you regret that, as it were, and what do you think should be done, to give the family the much needed expectation, as it were, from the presidency and the federal government?
Thank you very much once more for having me. I won't call it regret, but at the same time, I would say who much is given, much is expected. We have been with this party for a very long time. We were with the party as ANPP, and prior to that, we were in NRC. Then we were also ACN. ACN is the party that Bola Tinubu heads.
Yeah.
And then we came to also to the merger, which is the APC. All this period, if you talk about politics in Kogi State, you are talking about Audu. The first executive governor of Kogi State, Audu. The second executive governor of Kogi State, Audu. Till this second I sit here with you, you go to Kogi State, 99% of the infrastructure you see there, Audu. The Abajana cement, Audu. I can go on and on and on and on. We fought for APC. We won the election for national and state level for APC. We thought, having committed ourselves morally, financially, and otherwise, that there's a way of the party saying thank you, either on national level or state level. We believe that we have not been forgotten, but at the same time, people, our followers, are watching. We have a base, and this base, people keep asking questions. Unfortunately, like I said earlier on, I have been out of the country for over 2 years due to the attack, recovering from my element. However, on return, I have not seen anywhere the party has really reached out to us. But nevertheless, I am thinking there's actually still looking what is most appropriate.
Okay. But despite that, you have still declared total and unalloyed support for the party.
We, like I said, from the time immemorial have been for this party, and we will always be for the party. We have never wavered in our beliefs. We are not one of those politicians who jump ship before even it starts sinking. We started sailing with the ship, and if it needs to sink, we sink with the ship.
Now, from the time of your brother doing all of that for the state, and of course at the level of the federal, till now that someone else is in the saddle, how has it been? Like, would you say those legacies have, been built upon, or is the present government on the right side at the level of your state?
At the level of the state, I cannot really comment because I've really come back. I do not want to speak out of hearsay.
Okay.
But given time, maybe I'll be able to speak to one or two persons, then I can give appropriate comments on that.
You're a businessman, and one of the reasons people have complained about the present administration at the federal level is the fact that businesses have suffered a great deal of blow since this government started, because the preliminary policies of government on the economic front did not support, as it were, businesses. Some closed up, there were losses of jobs and all of that. From the perspective of a business person, what's the business climate like in Nigeria vis-a-vis the policies of the federal government?
Thank you very much. Like you said, I'm a businessman, not only a businessman within Nigeria,
But outside of Nigeria.
Outside of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And a very good example of what I'm going to say comes from Uganda.
You have a branch in Uganda.
I have a branch in Uganda.
Yes.
And in Uganda, they do not have any mineral resources whatsoever. One. Two, Uganda is landlocked. They do not have any port whatsoever. And looking at their business model there, I don't see much what people complain there compared to here. I think what has happened in Nigeria in particular is the fact that people were used to business as usual. People were being given contracts, they don't execute the contract, no follow-up. People who are being given contracts because they are the originator of the contracts, which means the people on seat become the actual contractor of the contracts, which is what you don't have in most countries. Now that this administration has now streamlined things and said, look, if you are a television guy, you do well, compete well. If you are a teller, come with new initiative, teller well. And I do remember one of your former ministers said that if you are a governor, you govern well. And people are not used to that. It takes time for us to come from where we were as business as usual. And once, even in this studio, there's any changes and business is not as usual, then you'll be tagged as a very bad presenter. I'm sorry to say that, but that is the norm. That is human. From my 35 years in Europe, why is Europe the way it is? People are held accountable for what they do. I can take you back to Dubai. 20 years ago, I went to Dubai. I was asked to buy a flat for less than $20,000. I said no. Today, I can't buy that flat for $2 million. Why? It's all policies. Policies take time, just like any seed. Once you sow a seed, you give it time to germinate. Once you germinate, you give it time to ripe. And this is part of human life that we are not patient enough to wait. So if we do wait, I'm sure you see the dividend of it, and it will come brighter than what it is today.
Yeah, because as we conclude, in your concluding brief on the statement you had, you did call on people to come out and get their PVCs. And now you're canvassing for a second term for the president. What are those policies you think are going to come out to make Nigeria better after 2019 if we have a second term for President Muhammadu Buhari?
Thank you. If you look at the policies is being put in place, just like I stated in the last statement, he's sowing the seed. Once he's given time, during the second tenure, the seed will begin to germinate, and people will begin to see the harvest. I have seen few shops I've been into, loads and loads of Nigerian-made products. That is what made people like Korea became self-sufficient. Once you are importing, you are indirectly being colonized by where you are importing this product from, because they detect the price at which you buy this product. So during his second tenure, I'm sure he's working, I believe, sincerely, being the man I know for over 20 years, I believe he's working on the insecurity, because there cannot be fire without smoke, and there cannot be smoke without fire. Once you just now take control of only the one part of these two factors, then you are not solving the problem. I'm sure he's going to the root of it to solve those problems. Given this opportunity, I think if he comes back during the second tenure, a lot of things will be put in place that you and I will be proud to be a Nigerian today. Taking that statement of being proud of being Nigerian, when I got to Uganda, you are in Nigeria, I was in a meeting with some board of directors, and the moment I described myself as a Nigerian, everybody left. Because they look at us as criminals.
Has that changed?
And today, I can tell you on this live television, that a lot of them, including some of their ministers, are saying you are a good ambassador to Nigeria.
Yep. On that positive note, we're going to conclude today's edition of the program, Issues of the Moment. And my guest has been Prince Yahya Awudu, Group President and CEO, Zayo Group of Companies. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Until next time, my name is Nten Ekpang. Do enjoy the rest of our programs on television, Nigerian. Bye-bye.